だね。でも何なのそれ。
A really scary thing that's coming on the horizon is to come up with a whole bunch of diagnoses in there that are looking at people who currently are mentally well adjusted but have a risk of developing a mental illness in the future.
They're still thinking they can define well before the symptoms develop the risk of a person developing a major mental disorder without any biochemical, biological or genetic tests or any physical test whatsoever.
They don't know the cause of a mental illness. They can't treat it, they can't cure it. So how can they launch a preventative campaign for mental illness? It just logically, it falters.
ちょっと待って。精神科医は本当に将来障害が起こると予測することができると思ってるの？
本人の言葉を聞いてみよう。
How can psychiatrists know if you're going to have a mental disorder in the future?
Again, that we don't know categorically who will develop psychiatric illness in the future.
It's really hard to say, actually. I don't know if you could 100% predict for anybody.
You can't forecast if one will develop a psychiatric disorder.
Maybe not, or maybe yes.
It's hard to predict.
It's hard to predict.
There's no way to predict that.
Well, I don't think that nobody knows that.
There's no way to tell.
Nobody knows?
I don't think anyone can know what's going to happen in the future.
誰にもわからないんじゃん。
そういうこと。それにもかかわらず、彼らは子供がいずれ精神病になるかどうかを発見するテストを提案しているの。
今から治療するために？
その通り。
I would hate to see us go into the type of society where people are locked up for what they may do in the future rather than what they actually have done.
Identifying people who are pre-psychotic would be a huge industry.
うわ、それは本当に恐ろしいね。
でも馬鹿げたことに、最も影響力を持つ精神科医の何人かが DSM には何の価値もないと明らかに認めているにもかかわらず、精神科医は dsm6 を推し進めているの。
Any comment on dsm6? It's of no use to us in the rest of the world.
米国国立精神保健研究所の責任者もこれを支援していないの。
I don't do DSM. I'm not involved. So, and that maybe tells you more than anything. NIH is not involved with DSM.
世界最大の政府運営の精神医学組織の長が DSM とは関わりたくないっていうわけ？
そうみたいね。これは完全な詐欺なの。
The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual is effectively the story that is being wrapped up in statistics and numbers and categories that when medicine tosses, doesn't fit any of our categories over to psychiatry, psychiatry says we'll find a category, and if we don't, DSM-5 or 6 or 7 will.
I think in 2016 we'll be looking at dsm6 and there will be 1,425 diagnoses and I'll have 900 of them.
狂ってるよ。
そうね。このすべては精神科医がより多くの人々を診断できるようにするシステムなの。
そして普通の振る舞いから彼らは利益を得ることができるというわけか。
そういうことなの。
それじゃあ DSM がそんなに役に立たないならなぜ精神科医は？あ、わかった。金ってことか。でしょ？
そう、精神医学はいつもお金が中心なの。それはすべて DSM から始まるのよ。ロバート・スピッツァー曰く。
The American Psychiatric Association found out it could make a lot of money by selling it. They've made a tremendous amount of money.
Every time they revise the DSM system, the American Psychiatric Association makes a hell of a lot of money.
大儲け？それってどれくらい儲けてんの？
毎年650万ドルよ。
そんなに？
でも儲けは DSM の売り上げだけじゃないの。精神科医たちと製薬会社は誰か診断するたびに儲かるの。
You create disorders so that you can treat it with a drug. It's the ultimate money-making machine.
How many people can we drug? How many labels can we put out there? How many people can we herd into these labels and feed them a drug so we can get richer, make more money?
There's an inherent conflict of interest, and that conflict of interest is driven by the desire to make money. More money, more money, more money than one should expect.
Huge money in the psychopharm business. If you
really did the research on these diagnoses, see that 90% of them or more don't exist. They're not valid. Then that's all of a sudden, all that reimbursement from the insurance companies disappears.
So we have to cut the money cord, as well as cutting the DSM cord if we're ever going to really succeed stopping this juggernaut from continuing.
Once again, it's follow the money. And you'll get your answer every time.
これには本当に驚いたよ。ということは、いわゆる精神障害には何の試験結果もなく、精神科医はそのマニュアルで定義することさえできないし、化学物質の不均衡理論は完全にインチキであっても、脳の化学物質に均衡を保たせると主張された精神薬があらゆる年齢の人々に処方されている。
それも毎年840億ドル分もね。それによって合衆国だけでも健康保険料が全部で100億ドルも高くなったの。
僕らの税金と保険料はこれを賄うために払われていたのか。
その通り。しかも精神医療業界は DSM によって毎年3300億ドルもかき集めているの。
1兆ドルの3分の1じゃないか。
手がつけられないほど大きくなっているのよ。
Well, the whole system is now a runaway train, but the DSM is the locomotive. And if you took the locomotive off, eventually the train would stop, because there'd be nothing more pulling it.
We're losing the concept of health. Everybody is sick and everybody's got a condition and everybody needs drugs.
You're going to end up with a whole society that's going to basically have to be led around by the hand. But who's going to lead them around? Because they're drugging so many of them.
In psychiatry, you know in your heart of hearts that you're not really diagnosing. You know in your heart of hearts that you can't really treat what you think might be wrong. And you also know that most of what you're dealing with in the DSM is unprovable and unreliable, not a predictable indicator. So what do you have then?
いい質問だね。何もないみたいだね。
そして人々は傷つく一方なの。
そうだね。
You're very lucky to go through psychiatry and survive. It really is as simple as that.
Only when enough people rip the veneer away and show that it's just nothing more than a Hollywood set is it ever going to fall down.
It would be good if all the medical professionals who are really practicing medicine and really trying to help people and based on scientific fact and what they can best do to improve the lives of others, if they would recognize, just be able to look at this fact. It's hard to look at it, but look at this fact and be ethical and be honest and clean up the profession by getting rid of this fraudulent part of it. Psychiatry.
全くその通りだね。明らかに社会を脅かすこの DSM を取り除かなくてはならないね。
そうね。かなり頼りない裏付けにもかかわらず、診断統計マニュアルは私たちの世界のあらゆるところに影響を与えているの。
学校や政府、
法廷制度、
メディアや軍隊には？
彼らにもよ。
っていうことは社会全体にだ。
それでも治癒したという結果はないの。
DSM はトランプの城のように脆いだけでなく、
診断統計マニュアルは精神医学による悪徳商法なの。